Well, welcome back. And as I've been saying when I give you the weather report, and you've seen all the other news services, right now we're probably by this afternoon starting a Santa Ana wind event, and we're probably looking at a red flag warning for the next couple days. So it's appropriate today. We have Steve Concialdi on. He is the PIO with the Orange County Fire Authority. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, Ken.
And Lynnette Round, you are the communications person for the Orange County Fire Authority as well. Now we're going to talk about a lot of things that we already had planned to talk about, and we can talk about what's the Santa Ana wind event as well, because obviously that's always big news.
Right.
We're already seeing some, not in this area, but I saw in the news this morning up in Fontana and those areas, some very strong winds into those areas right now, and it's going to work its way down here.
Well, on a conference call yesterday evening around 5 o'clock, we're expecting winds in excess of 25 miles an hour, and they could be up to 35 with gusts up to 70 miles an hour.
Wow.
In the canyon areas, and then relative humidity 5 to 10%. And we're going to have real slow recovery in the evening. Most evenings in the fall it cools down nicely, but we're not going to see that, and the relative humidity is going to stay low.
Wow. And as of now, you're expecting that to go all the way through Sunday at this point?
Well, they're saying the latest was Monday midday or so.
Okay. So it's
and Lynnette just checked. Before we came here, she just checked.
Yeah. So it's been extended.
Yeah, it's going to be a warm period. It's very dry. So what we want people to be aware of is if you're doing your gardening, your landscaping, make sure that you're not trimming the hedges where you're going to cause a spark. Be aware of your surroundings. Don't be throwing your cigarette butts out into the open. Catalytic converters can warm up brush really quickly. So if your car overheats, be careful where you pull over. You want to make sure you're not near a lot of brush. Even when your cars are warm and you're pulling in, if you're in an area where there's a lot of brush in the area, you just want to be aware of what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're camping, O'Neill Park or any of the campgrounds, you have to control your fire. If it gets too windy, we ask you to put it out, because a lot of times those embers will be thrown into the brush and start a brush fire.
Yeah.
And then for the residents here in Laguna Woods, put your umbrellas down. If you have anything in the backyard, because a lot of times we'll have basketball nets coming over. We'll have umbrellas breaking off or flying. We'll have pads in the backyard on lawn furniture flying all the way around, everywhere. So just for the residents, put your umbrellas down. That's one of the best devices right now.
Yeah, and we've done that at our house. In fact, I said earlier when I was giving the weather, I was putting a lot of stuff away. You know, with a little 7-year-old, you got stuff all over the yard. But the one thing I did forget is that our little basketball hoop that I got to take care of. And thanks for reminding me.
They fall on cars.
Yeah.
They go into the street. So it happens actually often.
Yeah.
I did want to also add that make sure that you're hydrating. In this heat, the dry weather, you want to make sure that you're drinking lots of water. I know sometimes people will go out, they'll walk, and you won't perspire as much because it dries quickly. So make sure that we're hydrating, especially if you have grandkids or kids around the house. Even for the adults like us, we need to make sure that we're hydrating as much as we can.
Yeah, certainly. Well, you wanted to talk about, we kind of set this up a couple of weeks ago as far as the main issue. We didn't know about the Santa Ana event, but about hazards in the home. And there was an incident here 2 or 3 weeks ago where there was a problem there. I believe it was actually somebody mixing cleaning products together. And it caused, I don't know exactly what that was, probably ammonia or something, or bleach was something. But the firefighters came there, and some of them were actually beginning to become overcome by these fumes, and it can be a real hazard, can't it?
Right, and the resident wasn't actually mixing chemicals. Basically, they came together,
Okay.
and whoever it was. So basically, we recommend bleach always be stored separately from any cleaning supplies. So like you said, when bleach and ammonia or different chemicals come together, so just store cleaning supplies safely and always keep bleach away from any other chemical.
Okay, because that seems to be the main catalyst
Correct.
When combining with something else.
Exactly.
All right, trip hazards around the home, very big in this community. And I know firsthand when my mom was alive, it happened 2 or 3 times to her and caused a broken wrist, a broken hip. And it goes on here all the time. And in many cases, it can easily be avoided, right?
Definitely. I don't know if Steve wants to further elaborate on this, but I noticed when we go around talking to the folks is that those loose area rugs seem to be a
Yeah.
common trip hazard. I mean, I have some at home and you can hit them and slide. So if residents want to have those, there's nonstick pads you can put underneath them. Or if you just don't have them in your home, I know they look pretty and they're nice to have, but if you could keep them out of the home, that's one less chance of you falling over that. And also we see cords. A lot of times extension cords are used and they want to rig them all the way around to a desk or to a television, and then that becomes a trip hazard as well. So we want to make sure that we're not doing that. We want to make sure that power source is close to whatever we're plugging into.
Right, exactly. I know when it came to my mom years ago, it was the dog dish, the water dish. And there was some water spilled there, you know, the dog got in it, whatever it was, and she hit both the water and that. And, you know, that's another hazard. If you have pets, put their food dishes somewhere where you're not going to continually walk by. Put them way in a corner. You can even buy those little raised pads, so if they do spill, it's contained in that little that raised tray, basically.
Exactly. Falls are one of our most common calls in this community. Basically tripping over rugs, walking down a hallway. So we're just asking the residents just to make sure the hallways are clear, look for the rugs, be careful with those, any trip hazard. And then we recommend everybody have some sort of device on them. If they do fall, they could alert. So because you've heard those, I've fallen and I can't get up. That is so common.
They really
here.
do work then.
They work, because I personally been on calls where they've been down for 12 hours, 24 hours. I was just on one a couple months ago. They were down for 2 days. And it was unfortunate because the family, they were out of the country, they were on vacation. And the other residents, friends, just thought maybe they had gone with them or so forth. So if you notice your neighbor's papers are there, or you haven't seen your neighbor in a few hours or a few days, check on them. Just neighbors helping each other and so forth. But we really recommend any sort of device on them that if they do fall, because this is so common, that they could basically alert an agency, and then right away they check, they call 911, they call the fire department, as well as they call a family member on their list, so somebody could get over there quickly.
Yeah, it's nice to know that they really work. I think
they do
when people
work.
see those ads, they wonder, you know, am I just paying a monthly fee and it's not going to work? But that's nice to know. Another program that you're very big on is it's called the Water Watcher Program. Now, we're getting out of the summer area, but obviously beginning of summer, you're talking about the pools and drowning. But what people don't realize, people here, they have their grandkids over, maybe they're watching for the day. You can have drowning of a small child in a bathtub.
Definitely.
Very easily.
Yes, what we're telling the grandparents, even the adults in the community, is if you have a small child, let's say you're babysitting and they happen to be in the tub, never take your eyes off of that child in the water. If you look away for a second, that child could go down, they could ingest the water and just get into their lungs and then have some type of breathing impairment. So if you're bathing the child, make sure you stay with them at all times, make sure you're within arm's reach. Even when you take them to the pool, you want to make sure that you're within arm's reach of that child. That way, for some reason, they go underneath, you can quickly pick them up and get them out. I don't know if Steve wants to talk about this, but we have these water watcher tags. They're in English and in Spanish. And basically, the water watcher uses this, and they're strictly watching the water. They're not watching anything else going on around them. They're not reading, you know,
So this would be like at a pool?
Yep, if you're in a pool, they just wear it around their neck. I know it's awfully big, but we want people to know that, hey, they're doing a very important job. It's very important that somebody's always watching that water. That way, if somebody does slip underneath, you're not going to hear them. They're not going to splash like they do in the movies. There's no sound. They silently go under. And you have 2 minutes to actually get them out before you start having some serious problems.
Yeah, and we experienced this, not me personally, but up in Rancho Santa Margarita just this July 4th, that happened. And we were in the area, we were all waiting for the fireworks. We're the other side of we have like a lake up there, and we heard that announcement that we need help right away, and it was just chilling.
Exactly.
And the outcome was not good.
Right, it wasn't. Since January 1st of this year, we've had 58 drowning incidents.
Wow.
And out of those 58, 24 people have died. That's significant.
Yeah.
And it's not just the little kids. Out of those 24 that have died this year, 12 of those, so half of the deaths, are people 55 or older.
Wow.
So we're always concerned about the little children in the bathtubs, in the pools, the jacuzzis, in lakes, by the beach. But people that are 55 and older accounted for half our deaths, 12 deaths already. And so we're just asking, please don't swim alone. Always have somebody with you. If you go in your backyard spa or you're swimming, have somebody swim with you. Also, alcohol is a factor in a lot of these occurrences. And it could be at the beach, it could be in the backyard where they might just be having a glass of wine or two or a few beers. But you should always be with somebody else, and you have to be very careful when you drink alcohol and you go into a spa or the pool or to the beach.
Yeah, that can be
Especially-
tragic.
As well as prescription medications. Sometimes they mix with alcohol, and then with the heat of a jacuzzi or spa, that just is a recipe for disaster. So always swim with a buddy is what we say. That's going to be our new theme, swim with a buddy, never swim alone. It's so important to have somebody there. They don't have to be in the pool with you or in the spa with you, but as long as somebody's there, that way if something were to happen, some type of medical emergency, there's somebody there to help out.
Yeah, exactly. Another big area of concern throughout Orange County are cooking fires. It's amazing how many times this happens where something gets out of hand on the stove, people aren't watching it, and disaster happens.
Right, I had our fire prevention pull the stats just recently, and we have a cooking fire in Orange County about every 3 days.
Wow.
And that, it causes a lot of damage. You would think, and I remember when I was a new fire captain, I went on a small cooking fire in Mission Viejo, and it was basically just involved the stove. And so when I was calculating everything, we basically thought it was $1,000 worth of damage because it didn't extend into the cabinets or anywhere else. And so we thought that would cover it. It wasn't until a few days later when the insurance company contacted and they said basically it's going to be $5,000 because of the smoke damage that got into the furniture and the carpet and clothes and so forth. So you might just have a small fire, but it does significant damage with the smoke and so forth. And all these fires are unintended cooking. So basically somebody starts cooking and then they go answer the phone, or they go answer the front door, or they receive a package, or they get distracted somehow. So we're just asking, if you start cooking something, if you do have to go attend to your child or go answer the front door or go for a delivery person, shut it off.
Yeah.
Or take it off the range.
Yeah, exactly. And what about having the proper fire extinguisher somewhere in the kitchen?
Exactly.
That's definitely something that you would need to have. Well, I actually have one under our kitchen sink because you want it easily accessible, but you want it, as long as you can pick it up, you want to be able to have that fire extinguisher that's made for your size.
Right.
We have a fairly large one because I can pick up a little bit more, but we have neighbors who are older and they have a small one because that's what they can lift.
Right.
You want to be able to use it, and we use a method called PASS. It's pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. So you're pulling the pin, you're aiming at the base of the fire because that's what you need to put out, not the flames and stuff. You need that base of that fire. You squeeze and you sweep it and the fire's out. What we're telling people though is if that fire is too big and you don't think you can put it out with an extinguisher, we want you to get outside as quickly as possible, shut the door, call 911. That's what the firefighters are here for. They train for that and they can definitely get there quickly and put that fire out.
Yeah, definitely.
And never throw water on a grease fire.
No.
So we see that basically somebody's cooking up something, there's a lot of oil and grease in there, and they'll throw water on it and that just spreads. So use an extinguisher, use baking soda, have a can of that. A lot of people have those cans, and they're able to throw that on it, which
Right.
it smothers the fire.
Right. And one thing I want to add to that, but people who watch me here, they know I'm big on cooking and all that. Don't do what you see professional chefs do on the Food Network and add alcohol directly to the pan. Remember, they are in professional kitchens or professional studios with the proper ventilation, and believe me, people are right off
Sauce.
stage there. Yeah, and always take it off. Number one thing, if you're using wine, or especially if you're using spirit of some kind, vodka or something, put the amount you need in a cup. Don't ever put the bottle over it, and turn off the heat while you're doing that. Put it in, and then go ahead and start up again. The alcohol will burn off by the heat. That whole flame thing, it really does nothing. It really doesn't.
Show.
It's for show. Yeah. So make sure you do that.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. I wanted to
All sorts
mention.
of little things.
Yeah, all sorts of little things. You obviously have a smoke alarm here. Along with this, I've seen more and more people having the carbon monoxide alarm, and I want to know how important those are. This community I know uses electric heat. Where I live, we have gas, so I don't know what's most important to have.
They're both really important
Okay.
to have. Actually, it's a law
really
in
pull
a
this
single
up a little
family
bit.
home that you need to have a working carbon monoxide detector
Okay.
in your home. The reason being is that a lot of times what people do is they'll drive their cars in, they shut their garage door really
Right.
fast, and they open the door, and then you have all that exhaust coming into your home. A lot of times they could be older furnaces that may malfunction, and it could cause that carbon monoxide to come in. We just want people to be safe. We want them to be aware of these things, and that is just a detection. It's a warning system that says, hey, there might be some gas in here. It triggers a it triggers a sleepiness. You get tired, you don't feel good, and you don't even know you're getting carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right.
That's why you need it in your home, because it doesn't smell and you can't see it, and it just silently comes in. It's known as a silent killer.
And it is a law now, like Lynnette said, so 1 per floor. So if on a 2-story home, you have to have a minimum of 2.
Okay. All right, we're running about out of time here. I do want to mention that tomorrow there are open houses throughout Orange County, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And next weekend as well.
Yeah, next weekend's at her headquarters.
Okay.
That's-
Very good.
That is the huge one that we have. We opened up our training facility. We have live fire demonstrations. Our USAR dogs are out there demonstrating what they do. We have a cooking fire demonstration, so we'll show you how grease and water don't mix. All sorts of educational opportunities, free food. It's a great
And
time
that's
for
up
everybody.
in Tustin area?
In Irvine. It's
Okay.
off of Jamboree and Tustin Ranch
Okay,
Road.
that's right, Tustin.
Definitely.
Okay.
But yeah, Station 22 on the 5th of October from 9 to 2, they'll be open as well.
And this is something that Paul actually got last weekend. There was a small brush fire. In fact, I texted Steve on this because I was out putting up our Halloween decorations, and at my angle, it looked like the fire was somewhere around to Harris Creek, just the way I was looking, but
Right.
it was actually much further. So Paul got a shot of this, and this is a reminder, even last weekend, it was a fairly mild weekend. It was warm,
Right.
but there were very little winds.
And this fire was over 7.5 acres.
Wow.
And if we had the significant Santa Ana winds, it would have ran up the hill, and there's homes, a number of homes on the ridge line in Laguna Niguel.
Yeah. So there you have it. All right. Well, thank you for coming on today, Steve and Lynnette. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
Great.
And
Thanks,
folks,
Dan.
thanks for watching today. We are out of time. Have a good, safe weekend, and I will see you here on Monday.